Hello, hello, hello. Right, we are going to start the next panel. A very interesting subject for us all, trust in media. I'm going to be joined shortly by Tammy Tam from the South China Morning Post. This, I think, is one of those sessions where the subject could never be more relevant and never been more important. We just have to look at the world around us in terms of information, disinformation, AI, good actors, bad actors in everything. So I think this is a very important session for us. Tammy, take a seat.
Thank you.
And we will start.
Okay.
Okay.
Start working?
Yes. Why don't you say hello?
Hello, hello.
There you go, it's working. There you go. All right.
All right.
We're going to start with the first question. What is trust in 2023 in media? How do we think about trust? How do you think about trust as an editor of a regional important media brand?
Thank you, Paul, for this very significant questions. But I'm also curious, when you ask about trust in 2023, do you mean that trust today has a different meaning than decades ago? To me, I do see different meanings. I think decades ago, when people talking about trust in the media, it is indeed talking about trust and credibility of the media. But today, with the proliferation of social media and technology, I do have one observation, which also is quite troubling. When we talk about trust in the media, probably it's not exactly trust, but whether I agree with you or I disagree with you. So I think it's very important when people talk about trust in the media, we need to be very clear. Are you talking about, I trust you, even though I disagree with this media's position? Or it's because I don't like you, I disagree with your views, and that's why I don't trust you. So these are two very different concepts, but I don't think these two concepts should be mixed. It's
Right.
very clear. Or
Yep.
otherwise,
Yep.
I mean, for journalists, we try to be as factual, as neutral as possible, but we also understand there's no absolute objectivity in this world. Like you and me, we are from different background, and you may see things differently from me, and we all have this kind of entrenched
Yep.
bias,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So when people talking about, oh, I don't like you, and then I distrust you, so this is something that I think for the whole industry, we need to clarify this before we talk about what real trust should be.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think one of the consequences
Yeah.
of some politicians around the world
Yeah.
and some social media outlets around the world is that we've gone from I trust you, I don't agree with you, but I trust you and respect your view, to you're wrong and I'm right. I mean, that seems to be the way the world is working now. You've got extremes of
Right,
of,
right.
of views, and you're right or you're wrong. And I think the challenge for traditional media is trying to sit in the middle of that space.
Yeah.
What do you do as an editor? You've got a newsroom, you've got writers. What do you do to counteract or enhance or build that trust, that relationship with your readers, your audience?
Yeah, that's a very important question. Well, we are kind of like the media industry. We are all facing these difficulties and a sense of urgency, if not crisis, that we are losing trust from the readers. But as I said, whether this is a real trust or is because I disagree with you, since the world is so polarized,
Yep.
we are living in a world, either you are this side, either you are with me or you are my enemy. And in particular, when it comes to social media postings, we all have heard about this echo chamber effect.
Yep.
So people circulate and repost those ideas and those views that only you agree with this, and then further enhance the views.
Yep.
Nobody will post some of the opposition's views. And even though they post some of these, the contradictory other side's views, they will put into a lot of, attacks and criticisms over there. So for me, when the South China Morning Post is the newspaper of record in Hong Kong,
Yep.
and we cover China, we cover this whole region, and we have a global readership. So how we can gain and maintain the trust of our global audience rather than just people from Hong Kong. So it's very important for us to stick to the highest standard of professionalism.
Yep.
And the stress, we have a very high threshold. It's what we call fact-based journalism. We all understand when you cover certain news, probably you can't claim that I'm covering the whole truth. You maybe just cover part of the truth, but at least this is something real, something accurate. To us, we have a very clear lines, very clear editorial policies. When in doubt, leave it out. But when we cover certain controversial issues, you need to get feedbacks from different sides. I think one fundamental difference between a credible media and the social media is that people come to you because they have a faith
Yep.
on your information. I'm not saying, no, that's a little bit different from trust. At least, let me give you an example. During the COVID time,
Yep.
there's so many different informations in the social media. Like whether you should get this inauguration, get
Yep.
the vaccines. There's so many talks in the social media talking about, it's risky if you take inauguration and to get vaccinated. So we talk to experts, we talk to medical specialists, and we talk to different people to come up with this, what we believe is credible analysis on the efficiency of the vaccines. If you go to social media, you either see it as completely useless, or you see, oh, this is wonderful. So this is how we need to build up our credibility, in particular when it comes to at the time of a crisis, when the time that people get too many informations. And also, I think over the past decade, 1 or 2 decades, with the proliferation of the internet, and we are facing this age of information overload. And that's why people are talking about the more you read, the less you know.
Yeah.
So how we can position ourselves and build up the brands and build up the credibility that this is a credible platform. I think that's very important. And no one is an island. I think besides the journalist, we still need to stick to our professional training. And I think we also need to educate our readers. Now, for journalists, we used to say that critical thinking is very important.
Yep.
But I think for readers, they also need to have this kind of critical thinking. When you see something, when you read something, you also ask the question, oh, is it the case? I think this is mutual.
Yep.
It's especially nowadays, it's kind of interactive.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that you have training for journalists.
Yes.
You have rules.
Yes.
And the goal is that they are producing content and thinking through issues in a way that is more credible for the audience.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, the audience has to trust the brand.
Yes.
And I'm just, as you look at the way that consumers are consuming media at the moment through social media,
Mm-hmm.
how important is that brand, right? How important is the source? And how do you think about that in terms of the reader? That actually you want to be in front of people, you want to be a brand that is credible, that costs money.
Right.
So you've got this sort of conflict of how do I get as many people as possible to understand that we are a brand,
Mm-hmm.
but they have to pay for it,
Yes.
right? So I'm just, from the position of how you think about the brand and that credibility,
Mm-hmm.
are you optimistic about how that works in the future, given that I can read a tweet, I don't really know where it's from, I can read a Facebook post, I don't fully understand the brand. So how do you get beyond the people who know you to build that credibility, I guess?
Yeah, Hi Paul, actually you raised a very important point. A brand, of course, is an advantage when you have a brand like the South China Morning Post.
Yeah.
We are just going to celebrate our 120th anniversary next
Congratulations.
month. Thank you. So with such a long history, there's a brand there, but a brand is not kind of like taking for granted something for your credibility. Still, it comes back to the content and quality contents. Yep. I think that's the most important. And then of course, you're right, the company, we need to spend money to promote the brand, but the thing is what to promote.
Yep.
The brand does not come without anything. The brand is not something just empty, this brand is wonderful, like the S&P is wonderful, or the Economist is wonderful, or your brand is wonderful. Like FII is a brand because they organize this kind of, magnificent events and have all the heavyweights from all the region attending. So if we need to promote a certain media brand, we need to provide our readers, and for us, you need to provide our global readers quality contents.
Yep.
And when it comes to our coverage about China, we also need to take a position that we cover China. China is such a huge country. It has something good. It may also have something negative. You don't just say everything is rosy, everything is wonderful in China, or you say, everything is lousy there. We need to provide the nuances and and to explain the complexities so that people see the quality. Another thing I want to point out is when we are talking about brand, people will come to judge you to see, of course, the content, and second, your global reach.
Yep.
So this comes to another point, investment in this digital era.
Yep.
Even you have a good content, if it's just here.
Someone has to pay for it.
Someone has to pay for it, but you also need to build up the platform so that the content can travel outside and travel to the world.
Yep.
So this is what we have been doing. So starting from about 7 years ago, we started our digitization journey. And today we have turned S&P from Hong Kong newspaper.
In print.
In print, print-centered.
Yeah.
And now it has turned into a digital news platform.
Yep.
With credible China coverage. And also I think for
globally, immediately then globally, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So the other day I was here, meeting some new friends from here, from Saudi. I'm very pleased to know that when I told them that I'm from Hong Kong, from the South China Morning Post, they said, I have heard about this. I'm very happy to know this. And thanks to the investment in this digitization, and also thanks to technology.
Yep.
Without it, it's still a newspaper being circulated within the city. Right?
Yep. No, so someone's got to pay for it. I have a particularly strong view that Facebook should pay more than it does, but that's another panel where I can be rude about Mark Zuckerberg.
I agree with you.
How, as you look forward, and we talk about trust in media, we've got a minute or two to go, how optimistic, I think you're a naturally optimistic person, having just met you.
Yes.
Are you optimistic about traditional media brands generally, and yours in particular? Are you optimistic about that future in terms of people trusting it, or are you pessimistic or neutral? You can be neutral.
Neutral.
I'm naturally a pessimistic person, so you can be in the middle.
Yeah. It's a tough question.
Yep.
Let me put it this way. The way ahead is very tough. When we talk about trusted media, whether people want to pay for it, I think to a certain extent, allow me to be very, very honest, I think the audience have been spoiled at some point. Over the past probably 20 years, they kind of take it for granted. Everything's free.
Yep.
Because it's in the internet.
Yep.
Right? They should understand quality journalism means investment
Yep.
from the owner, and also means a heavy investment from the reporters and the journalists. If you want credible contents, I think to support quality journalists, the people should pay. But I still don't see the trend. And nowadays, it's not that people will pay for you because you are trustworthy. It's just kind of like a habit. You think that
Yep.
this is because it's it's on the internet. I don't have to pay for it.
Yep.
And sometimes I also feel quite frustrated. Like actually, a subscription is not super expensive, but they may go to a restaurant and enjoy a nice dinner instead
one
of paying
Starbucks.
for it.
It's one
One
Starbucks a week.
Starbucks per month.
A month, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
right? So I want to advocate and let people understand this is just like a cup of cappuccino or a nice some dim sum lunch. But if
So
you pay for it,
they're going to throw us off the stage in whatever this is in a minute. Positive, neutral, negative. Trust in
but-
media 2050.
2050, I'm still optimistic.
Okay.
I think people will come to realize, in particular, with the proliferation of the social media, and also when these big platforms are in control, you need to understand this kind of a credibility is not easy. If you
And it's
come
important.
to a credible media, you get credible information. That helps. And the example I want to cite is always like a COVID. So if you don't want to confuse yourself for your own sake, come to credible media.
Excellent. All right. Well, on that positive note, because I was going to be very negative, you've been very positive. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Paul.
And keep reading traditional media, but more importantly, pay for it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
And support us.